You're moving, but you don't know where you're going. Not in the literal sense. You have a schedule, tasks, goals, a general direction. But in the deeper sense, in the sense that actually matters, you're not sure. You're checking boxes, climbing ladders, following paths that other people laid out. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a question you keep avoiding. Is this even the right direction? Am I building towards something I actually want? Or am I just moving? You look around at people who seem certain, who seem to know exactly where they're going and why. And you wonder, how do they know? What compass are they using that I don't have? Here's the truth. Most of them don't know either. They're just better at pretending, or they're following someone else's map, or they've confused motion with direction. But some people actually do know. They have clarity. Not because they have all the answers, but because they have a compass. An internal reference point that tells them if they're moving toward what matters or away from it. If you've ever felt like you're busy but directionless, if you've ever wondered if you're climbing the right mountain, if you've ever achieved a goal and thought, now what? This video is for you. Today, we're going to talk about how to find your direction. Not the direction the world gives you, but the direction that's actually yours. It's called your true north, and it's the only compass you'll ever need. Let's start by understanding why you're lost, why you're moving but not clear on the direction. You've been following other people's maps, their definitions of success, their version of the good life, their idea of what you should be aiming for. Maybe it's your parents' map, the one that says, get the degree, get the job, get the house, get married, have kids, check the boxes, follow the script. Maybe it's society's map, the one that says, make more money, gain more status, achieve more success, climb higher, get bigger, win more. Maybe it's your industry's map, the one that says, this is the next level, this is what you're supposed to want, this is the ladder you're supposed to climb, and you followed it because it was there, because everyone else was following it, because it seemed like the right thing to do. But here's the problem. Someone else's map can't get you to your destination because it's not designed to. It's designed to get them to theirs. And now you're somewhere, but you're not sure if it's where you actually wanted to go, or if you just ended up here because you were following a path that was already laid out. Let me give you an example. You pursued a career because it was prestigious, or because it paid well, or because your family valued it, and now you're successful by those standards. You have the title, the salary, the respect, but it doesn't feel the way you thought it would, because it was never your direction. It was someone else's. And you can achieve someone else's goals perfectly and still feel completely lost. This is the direction problem. You're moving, you're making progress, you're checking boxes, but you don't actually know if you're going the right way because you never defined what the right way meant for you. You outsourced the question, and now you're living someone else's answer. Now let me introduce you to a different way. One that's harder to follow, but actually gets you where you want to go. It's called your true north. And it's not a destination, it's a direction. A way of orienting yourself that's based on your values, not someone else's map. Remember in video 13, we talked about the inner scorecard, about defining your values, what actually matters to you. Not what should matter, what does matter. Your true north is those values translated into direction. It's using what you value as a compass to navigate your choices, your career, your relationships, your life. Here's how it works. Instead of asking, what should I do next, or what's the next level, you ask, what aligns with my values? What moves me toward what I actually care about? Let's say one of your core values is freedom. Your true north isn't a specific job or title. It's any direction that gives you more autonomy, more control over your time, more choice in how you live. So you make decisions based on that. You might turn down a promotion that pays more but requires more hours because it moves you away from freedom, not toward it. Or let's say one of your core values is creativity. Your true north isn't a specific outcome. It's any direction that lets you create, that gives you space to make things, to think, to express. So you protect time for that, even if it's not immediately profitable, even if it doesn't fit the traditional career ladder, because it's aligned with your compass. This is radically different from following someone else's map, because someone else's map has a fixed endpoint. Get here, achieve this, reach that level. But your true north doesn't have an endpoint. It has a direction. And as long as you're moving in that direction toward what you value, you're going the right way. Even if you're not moving as fast as someone else. Even if you're not on the path everyone else is on. Even if it doesn't look impressive from the outside, because you're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to live aligned with what actually matters to you. So how do you actually use your values as a compass? How do you navigate with your true north in a world that's constantly trying to hand you someone else's map? Here are 3 practices that will help you find and follow your direction. Practice 1, the decision filter. Every time you have a significant decision to make, run it through your values first. Don't ask, will this make me more successful? Don't ask, what would other people do? Don't ask, what should I do? Ask, does this align with my values? Does this move me toward what I actually care about? If one of your values is connection, and you're offered a job that pays more but requires you to move away from your people, the decision filter tells you this moves you away from what you value. You might still take it, but you're making that choice consciously, with eyes open, knowing the trade-off. The decision filter doesn't make the choices for you, but it clarifies what you're choosing between. And that clarity is everything. Practice 2, the 6-month check. Every 6 months, look at how you're spending your time and energy. And ask, is this aligned with my true north? Am I moving toward what I value, or am I drifting? Because drift happens. You get busy, you respond to opportunities, you follow momentum, and suddenly you're 6 months down a path you never consciously chose. The 6-month check catches the drift before it becomes your life. It lets you course correct. Not dramatically, just gently, a few degrees at a time. Maybe you notice you've been saying yes to things that don't align with your values, so you start saying no more. Maybe you notice you've been ignoring something that matters to you, so you make space for it again. Small adjustments. But they keep you oriented toward your true north instead of someone else's destination. Practice 3, the future self question. When you're unclear about direction, ask yourself, which version of my future self do I want to become? Not which achievements do you want, not which status markers do you want to collect, but which person do you want to be? The version who prioritized creativity, or the version who prioritized security? The version who chose freedom, or the version who chose prestige? The version who invested in relationships, or the version who invested in career? There's no right answer, but there's your answer. And your true north is the direction that leads to the version of yourself you actually want to become. Let me tell you what happens when you start navigating by your true north. At first, you'll feel uncertain because you're used to following maps, used to having clear endpoints, used to knowing exactly where you're supposed to be going. But your true north doesn't work like that. It's a direction, not a destination. And that can feel uncomfortable. You'll also feel pressure because the people around you are still following their maps, still climbing their ladders. And they'll wonder why you're not. They'll ask if you're sure, if you're making a mistake, if you're giving up. But then something shifts. You realize you're not anxious anymore. Not in that deep, grinding way, because you're not trying to get somewhere you don't actually want to be. You realize you're making decisions faster because you have a filter, a way of evaluating that's based on your values, not everyone else's opinions. You realize you respect yourself more because you're living according to what you actually care about, not what you think you should care about. And you realize you've arrived, not at a destination, but at a way of living, where every choice, every decision, every direction is aligned with what matters to you. That's not success in the traditional sense, but it's something better. It's integrity, alignment, the peace of knowing you're going the right way, not because someone told you it was right, but because you chose it consciously, based on what you value. Here's what I need you to understand. You don't need someone else's map. You don't need to follow their path. You don't need to aim for their version of success. You need your own compass, your values, your true north. And once you have it, once you know what direction you're moving in and why, the confusion stops. The doubt stops. The feeling of being lost stops, because you're not lost. You're exactly where you chose to be, moving in the direction you chose for reasons that actually matter to you. So stop following maps. Start following your compass. Define your values. Use them as your true north, and let them guide every choice, every decision, every direction. The path might not look like anyone else's, but it will be yours. And that's the only thing that ever mattered. Your true north is waiting. Now follow it.